The sky shattered the night the star fell, tearing through the clouds with a scream that wasn't sound but something deeper, something that trembled inside every living creature as though the universe itself had drawn a breath and held it too long. Arin stood alone on the cliff's edge, the wind whipping around him like frantic hands trying to pull him back from the sight before him, the burning trail, the glowing ember descending, the impossible brilliance that tore apart the darkness. To the villagers below, it was a bad omen. To the elders, a warning. But to Arin, whose heart had always felt like a locked door begging for a key, it was something else entirely, a calling. The star struck the northern ridge with an explosion that rippled through the air like a heartbeat of the earth, lighting the mountains in a sudden burst of white fire. For a moment, silence fell, not peaceful but heavy, trembling, like the world was waiting for something to awaken. And in that silence, Arin felt a whisper slither into his mind, a voice without form, ancient and cold, yet somehow desperate, "Find me." He staggered back, clutching his head, breathing hard as the wind howled around him. No one else heard it. No one else ever heard the things he did. Since childhood, he had sensed things others dismissed as imagination, the soft murmurs in the river, the shadows that rippled too slowly to be wind, the flicker of light in the corner of a moonless night. It made him strange, different, alone, but never afraid. Tonight, however, as the whisper echoed through his bones, something felt different, urgent, dangerous, irresistible. When he returned to the village, lanterns flickered on every doorstep, people gathered in the square murmuring, praying, fearing. The chief elder, Mara, stood on the temple steps, her silver hair glinting beneath the torches. Her voice trembled as she spoke, "The stars have warned us. Darkness approaches." Murmurs rose like a tide. Mothers held their children close. Warriors gripped their spears. And Arin, heart still racing, felt the whisper again, quieter this time, fading like a dying breath, "You must come." He clenched his fists, the words scraping at his soul like claws. He didn't know why, but he knew the voice was meant for him. Yet how could he explain that? How could he tell them all that the fallen star was not a warning of doom but a summons, his summons? He said nothing, moving silently through the crowd, feeling the eyes of the villagers on him. They always watched him, some with curiosity, others with suspicion, a few with fear. The strange boy with the strange senses, the one who saw things, heard things, felt things no one else did. He slipped into his small home, lit only by a single flickering candle. His father had died many seasons ago, a warrior lost in a storm. His mother faded soon after, her grief swallowing her slowly like a shadow creeping across her heart. Arin had survived alone, but he learned early that solitude is not silence, not for someone like him. As he sat on the wooden stool, staring at the dying candle flame, the whisper came again, weaker now, so faint he almost missed it. "Hurry. The dark knows you." His breath caught. The dark knows him. What did that mean? He stood, pacing, trembling. The star, no, whatever lay inside the crater where the star had fallen, was calling him because something else was already hunting him. And if he waited, he might be too late. The next morning, before dawn broke, Arin gathered what little he owned, a worn cloak, a dull dagger, a piece of dried bread, and the pendant his mother had left him, an old relic shaped like a tear, etched with symbols he never understood. He tied it around his neck, its cool surface resting against his chest, comforting and mysterious all at once. As he stepped outside, the world was quiet, heavy with mist. The fallen star had burned a scar across the sky, a faint trail of glowing dust still glimmering faintly like a celestial wound. Arin followed it north. Hours passed in silence. The forest grew denser, darker, the air colder. But something else stirred the deeper he went, shadows that shifted against the direction of the wind, trees that seemed to watch him, and a low vibration beneath the soil as though some ancient beast slept beneath the roots. Then, he heard it, footsteps. Not his. Soft, rapid, too light for a full-grown man. He turned sharply, hand on his dagger, scanning the underbrush. Who's there? Silence. A rustle to his right. He spun again. Show yourself. A small figure emerged, hooded, trembling. Arin lowered his dagger slightly. Who are you? The figure hesitated, then removed the hood. It was a girl, no older than 15, though her sharp eyes carried the weight of someone who had run from danger too many times. My name is Lyra, she whispered, her voice shaking. I've been looking for you. Arin froze. For me? She nodded quickly, glancing nervously toward the trees. I heard the voice too. The one from the fallen star. It called to me, and it said you were the only one who could reach it. Arin's heart hammered. He took a step closer. Why me? Why us? Lyra swallowed hard, her gaze drifting to the pendant around his neck. Because the darkness is rising, Arin. And it's hunting the ones who can hear the star. A chill sliced through him. The dark knows you, the whisper had said. Before he could speak, a sound erupted from the trees, a low growl, deep and unnatural, like the rumble of stone grinding against bone. Lyra grabbed his wrist, eyes wide with terror. It found us. The forest erupted with movement, shadows twisting into shapes that should not exist, claws forming from smoke and eyes glowing like dying embers. Arin felt the whisper one last time, desperate and burning, run to me. Now, and without another moment of hesitation, Arin and Lyra ran toward the valley where the fallen star awaited, the place where destiny had cracked open the sky like a wound waiting to bleed. But behind them, the darkness followed, hungry, relentless, and ready to swallow the world whole. And Arin knew, deep in his heart, that whatever awaited them at the crater was not just a fallen star, it was the beginning of a war older than time itself, a war he had been born into without knowing. And yet something inside him ignited, fierce and bright, like a spark waiting to become a flame. Whatever the voice was, whatever the star carried, whatever destiny awaited him in that crater, he would face it. Because if he didn't, the darkness would consume everything. And as he and Lyra ran, breathless and terrified, one thought blazed through Arin's mind like fire. This is only the beginning. The moment Arin and Lyra emerged from the thick line of trees, the world seemed to change, as if they had crossed an invisible threshold where the air grew heavier, colder, and far too quiet for a living forest. The valley before them stretched wide and hollow, its soil cracked like dried wounds, its once green fields now pale husks scorched by the star's descent. Smoke drifted upward in thin spirals from the massive crater at the valley's center, glowing faintly with a bluish shimmer that pulsed like a heartbeat. Arin felt the whisper again, a faint pull tugging at his very soul, while Lyra clutched his arm, trembling not from fear alone but from recognition. It's alive, she whispered, voice tight and thin. Whatever fell, it's alive. As they descended the slope, the ground vibrated beneath their feet, subtle at first, then growing stronger, a rhythmic thrum that echoed through their bones. Shadows from the forest edge slithered behind them, lingering, waiting, too afraid, or too cautious, to follow into the valley. Arin did not know whether that was comforting or terrifying. Lyra moved closer to him, eyes fixed on the crater as though anything else might swallow her whole. I saw it in a dream, she muttered, her voice distant. A cage of light, a heart trapped in fire, and something calling out. Arin nodded slowly. So you heard it too. She shook her head sharply. Not just heard it, it showed me things, warnings, a storm of black wings covering the sky, villages drowned in shadow, and then, her voice caught as though a hand had closed around her throat. Arin didn't push. The visions were different for each of them, he suspected, but the terror was the same. When they reached the crater's rim, the sight stole their breath. The fallen star was not a star at all. Instead, nestled like a seed in the cracked earth was a massive crystalline sphere, fractured but still pulsing with inner light. Veins of shimmering energy writhed across its surface like living vines, glowing brighter with each beat of its impossible heart. At its center, barely visible through the web of cracks, floated a shape, humanoid, suspended in luminous fluid, motionless yet unmistakably alive. Lyra gasped and stumbled back. A spirit, a guardian, a person. Arin stepped forward, drawn irresistibly, his pendant burning with cold fire against his chest. It called to me, he murmured. To us. He touched the edge of the crater, and the crystalline sphere flared with a blinding pulse of light that rippled outward, brushing across his skin like a feather dipped in lightning. The moment the light touched Lyra, she cried out, falling to her knees, clutching her head as visions exploded behind her eyes, swirling storms, creatures made of smoke and bone, and a towering figure of darkness with a crown shaped like fractured night. Arin grabbed her shoulders, shaking her gently. Lyra, what did you see? Tears streamed down her cheeks. It's not a star, it's a prison. And whatever imprisoned it, is coming. Before Arin could respond, the sphere cracked with a sound like breaking ice, shards of glowing crystal drifting upward like weightless snowflakes. Light surged outward in a wave so powerful it knocked Arin and Lyra backward. The earth trembled, the sky flickered, and suddenly a voice, clear, vast, ancient, filled the valley, reverberating not through their ears but through their souls. Children of the waking world, you have come. Arin's breath caught as the figure inside the sphere slowly lowered its head, its eyes opening for the first time, eyes like molten silver, swirling with galaxies. It raised a hand, pressing its palm against the inner surface of the crystal. The cracks widened, glowing like molten metal. "I am Elyndor," the voice said, though the figure's lips did not move. "Last of the Celestials, guardian of the first flame. I have slept for 1,000 ages, until your world called me again." Lyra staggered to her feet, shaking. "What do you want from us?" The light flickered, dimming slightly. "I do not want, I need." The words sent a shiver through the air. "The Shadowborne have awakened, the ancient devourers, born from the void between stars. They have found me, and now they hunt you." Arin felt the ground tremble again, harsher this time, like a warning. "Lyra," he whispered urgently. "The shadows that chased us, they're coming." Elyndor's silver eyes locked onto Arin. "You, child of the Tearborn, you carry the key." Arin looked down at his pendant, which now glowed with the same pulsing light as the crystal. "What is this?" Elyndor's voice deepened, echoing with memories of forgotten ages. "A tear of the Celestials, one of the last. Fragments of our power. Your mother was entrusted with it, she gave her life to protect you." Arin felt the world tilt. His mother had been quiet, gentle, fading from life with sorrow, but he had never imagined she carried a secret like this. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why was I chosen?" "Because the tear chose you before you were born." The sphere cracked again, light spilling through the widening fractures. "And now, you must choose whether to awaken its power, or watch your world fall." A sudden wind roared through the valley, swirling dust and ash into spirals. The shadows at the forest's edge surged forward, no longer hesitant. They grew into massive forms, beasts with bodies of smoke, limbs like twisted branches, eyes burning with crimson hunger. Lyra screamed as one lunged toward them, its claws slicing through the air like blades made of midnight. Arin stepped in front of her without thinking, the pendant blazing with white fire. The creature recoiled, hissing as though burned. Elyndor's voice boomed. "The tear recognizes the darkness, but its power lies dormant. You must unlock it." "How?" Arin shouted over the roaring wind. "With courage, with sacrifice, with acceptance of who you are meant to be." The Celestial's prison shattered completely then, sending shards of glowing crystal into the air like stars being born. Elyndor stepped forward, his form no longer bound, his presence towering and radiant. The Shadowborne roared in fury, closing in from all sides. Elyndor raised his hands, summoning a shield of light around them, but it flickered uncertainly, his energy visibly drained. "I have little strength left, they stole most of my power." Arin felt Lyra clutch his cloak, trembling. "Arin, what do we do?" He didn't know. He was just a boy from a forgotten village, not a warrior, not a hero. And yet the tear pulsed against his chest, each beat echoing the rhythm of the ancient Celestial's fading light. Elyndor's voice softened, almost pleading. "If the tear awakens, the flame awakens. And with it, hope." Arin swallowed hard, stepping forward. He placed his hand over the glowing pendant, eyes locked onto the Celestial. "Tell me what to do." Elyndor bowed his head slightly, silver light swirling around him like wings. "Let it choose you fully. Open your heart to its fire. Do not fear what you become." Arin closed his eyes, drawing in a trembling breath as the shadows roared around them. He felt warmth, gentle at first, then blazing, spread through his chest, flowing into his veins, filling his limbs with light and power and something ancient, something vast. He screamed as the tear dissolved into pure energy, merging with him, burning through him like a rising sun. Light burst from his body in a wave that shook the valley, scattering the shadows like dry leaves in a storm. When the light faded, Arin stood trembling, his eyes glowing with the same silver fire as Elyndor's. The shadows hissed and recoiled. Lyra stared at him with awe and fear. Elyndor smiled faintly, though exhaustion lined his ethereal face. "The flame lives once more," but before Arin could speak, a deeper shadow spread across the sky, blotting out the sun. A voice older than death itself rumbled through the valley, cold, cruel, thunderous. "You cannot hide from me, Celestial." Elyndor's expression darkened. "He has found us." And as a colossal figure of living darkness descended from the sky, wings spreading wide enough to cover mountains, Arin understood one thing clearly: this was no longer a journey. It was a war, and he was now at its very center.